What was it? Was it much of a change from Camborne to Truro as far as crowds were concerned, or the job?
It was very much a complete change, really. I mean, obviously from the size of the venue and what I'd gone from with the Bartley was towards the end of me being there. We started doing outside events, so we were doing outside bars. So I'd actually spend more time really away from the venue, and I was actually in the venue. And then Tim Vigas actually came over, and we had a chat, sort of thing. And I was then sort of in the process of being on the move. And came over and asked whether I'd sort of come over and join the team with him. So it was strange going from the large capacity venue to what basically was quite a small capacity venue at the time with the original loft. But it was a good time, and it was again a good transition. And you did see a different sort of style, and different class of people, not in any sort of bad way, saying class, but it was just a case of there was a lot of our crowd, a lot of the loyal sort of custom that we had in sort of Camborne, a lot of the faces you would see sort of time and time again. Whereas you went to Truro, and you still have that basis of a loyal crowd, but you'd also have sort of a lot of fresh faces come through, because at the end of the day it was a commercial city. So
excellent.
So it did put a different sort of lease of life to it.
Yeah, so of course it was the original loft, which is a lot smaller than what is known as now L2, which is a little bit further up the road in Truro. Of course, you did work for both, so I imagine a good times as a manager for you in those days.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it allowed me to sort of go where I wanted to go with it as well, and we had sort of changed the staff and things like that, and I was allowed then to sort of move up to licensee. Which is sort of like the direction where I wanted to go. So it made me very happy and gave me a lot of friends to sort of be with, and thoroughly enjoyed my time in the clubs. Yeah.
Steve, if you don't mind, we're just going to have a quick record break, and then we're going to come back and talk about your time with the fair.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Penwith Radio.
Jennifer Hudson and Spotlight. I like that one. Lovely R&B track. Coming up to 5 to 5 on this Thursday afternoon. And my special guest today is Mr. Steve Andrew. We've been talking about Steve's career so far. Steve has been a disc jockey, worked as a nightclub manager in various venues, and owned some fair rides, which we're going to be talking about very shortly. Steve.
Hello.
Yes, so basically we were talking just about your nightclub management there, and you've done some bits and pieces for the Berkeley and Camborne. You've been to the original loft, and then you moved on to L2. It's good times for you, and basically you got to a point where you wanted basically a time out for a while, and you basically took almost a year out to go to a place like Australia and New York. So what kind of things did you get up to on your basically your trip?
Well, I came to the point of it had been almost 16 years from the start of actually sort of being in pubs and clubs. So it was a case of I just decided that enough is enough, and I fancied sort of going away and just seeing a little bit more of the world. So I was lucky enough to have a petition to actually go off and basically go to New Zealand, to Australia, and later on sort of disappeared off to New York as well. But no, it was good. It was nice to sort of go away and just sort of have a little bit of your own time. And it was nice to actually not to travel with a mobile phone.
Yeah.
So absolutely perfect.
So it's just total isolation for a while.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, it was, especially when I got to New Zealand, it's very much sort of live out the back of a camper van and travel away. But it was lovely in the respect you could actually wake up on a different beach every morning. I mean, especially coming from Cornwall as well, appreciating the beaches here.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful to actually sort of just do a few miles at night, go in, find the local saloon, find the local sort of place to buy your food, cook a bit of stuff or grab a meal or whatever, and then basically sort of just crash out for the night, wake up to the next sunset, and you're just on a completely new beach again. So it's wonderful experience.
Yeah, I imagine you were rather jet lagged, because is the flight 24 hours?
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah. I actually flew out over onto Australia from Christmas Eve, and actually sort of arrived Christmas Day then. So it was nice, but managed to catch the fireworks in Sydney as well. So
yeah, did it take you long to get over the jet lag? Was it about a week or so?
No, it was about 4 weeks.
Was it 4 weeks?
Yeah, there's a place called Darling Harbour, which is just sort of almost in the centre of Sydney. Yeah. And I actually got to the point of going jogging at 4:30 every morning because I was just wide awake.
Were you?
So yeah, not a good one for jet lag.
Yeah, so it's fair to say you came back all fresh and rejuvenated and all the rest of it. Yeah. So good times in Australia and New Zealand for you. So basically, you came back to the UK and you wanted to try a new venture, and basically returned and took on a new project, and that was the fair. The fair. You got into the fair trade, not to be confused with fair trade coffee or any of that, you know. But basically, you bought a couple of rides over the last couple of years. Were you always interested in the fair?
Well, it was a situation very much that I was in Australia at the time, and I was actually in digs on Bondi Beach, and I had a phone call to say that a friend of mine up in Devon was actually selling a fairground ride. And it just struck a right chord, and decided to do the deal then and there on the phone, and sort of basically flew back to the UK. Picked it up, and it went from there. But I always remember my childhood, sort of growing up with my grandparents, and I mean, being 37 now, I was the right age group to just not obviously catch the sort of steam engines, but to catch the sort of the incoming diesels and bits and pieces like that. And I always remember sort of come May, you'd always see the loads on the road and things like that. And there was just a certain little magic with it. So it was always nice, and I'd just sort of grown up with that. Yeah. And with my father's and my uncle's family business in Redruth as well, it was always involved with showmen coming in and out and having repairs done and bits and pieces. And it just sort of went from there. So it just struck a right chord, and I just sort of ran with it. Yeah,
the fair is a very magical thing for a child, you know, even up to your teens, basically. Yeah. And how did you find the lifestyle? Just out of interest.
The lifestyles, I mean, it's one of those weird things. I mean, people find it with a lot of trades, but it's very much a case of once it's in your blood, it's in your blood, and that's it. And I think that's why I sort of continue to travel now and move around, because it's once you sort of get that feeling of freedom a little bit, and I've had the mortgage, had all the bits and pieces, you know, and it's a case of just having that freedom to actually sort of move all the time. It's something about it. There really is.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the rides you had? Because you started off with a big wheel, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually had, basically it was the old White Legs wheel. It's sort of a 1940s, 1950s ride, which basically we did a lot of refurbing to, and basically got it on the road and used to tour sort of Devon and Cornwall with it. I made an appearance one year at the get my teeth in. I told you I'm having problems with my teeth today. The St Agnes Rally. So it always sort of stayed fairly local. And then had a Noah's Ark as well, 42 foot. Spent a lot of that sort of getting that on the road again. And then that actually went up to Nottingham, and the current owner has actually just sort of finished refurbing it and put it out to rallies now as well. Yeah. And then as I was travelling, I got the offer on another machine, so that was bought, and again opened at sort of Redruth Murdoch Day with that. Opened here in Penzance in the car park here as well with it. So sort of moved around, and then was accepted into the Showman's Guild of Great Britain as well. So.
Yeah. What does that allow you to do, just out of interest, Steve?
Well, what it means basically is a case of it's a recognised body which is involved also with Parliament as well. So it's basically not so much a union, but it's a representative body which sort of helps travellers and sort of the travelling community as a whole, but in respect of travelling showmen. Yeah. So obviously when the rides roll into town and the side stalls roll into town and things like that, even though there's caravans involved and stuff, it's basically business people on tour. So it's a case of same as you would do a travelling rep would sort of check into a hotel every night with his bag sort of thing. Because it's a bigger operation, you've obviously got to take your home with you. So a lot of travellers actually do have sort of homes themselves, which are sort of bricks and mortar, but obviously to be travelling throughout the year and things like that, and to be from sort of one event to another, you need to have basically a sort of mobile home with you, and that's the sort of situation with it.
Yeah, I know.